Sprint 5 for AR Fortress West Point Capstone Team. For our agenda today, we will go over our product vision, sprint goal, capacity, all of the sprint products that we completed during this sprint, and a couple of the products that we completed for Projects Day. Our product vision hasn't changed. It is to create a fully functioning app that is usable by all users and accurately displays the history of Fort Willis during the Revolutionary War. Our sprint goal is to implement user feedback, integrate layered learning, and to upload the finalized version of our app on the App Store. Additionally, is to create products that will aid our presentation on Projects Day. This is a responsibility matrix that goes over some of the main tasks that we wanted to complete during this sprint. As you can see, we did a really good job of making sure that we were able to complete it. For our capacity for this sprint, we planned for 139 hours and we were able to complete 137. As you can see on our burn down chart, we were able to complete these hours in a uniform fashion.
For user testing during Sprint 5, the focus was to assess how well we were able to implement new features within our application, as well as how we were able to previously make changes to other user testings that was done in the past. The new features that were available to test were the layered learning implemented through integrating text boxes with our objects that were included in augmented reality, as well as identifying nodes by highlighting them with a finger touch and having buttons mapped to indicate the response to the human touch. Additionally, we were able to adjust the map feature within the application in order to be more user-friendly, and how object manipulation feedback occurred for the user side input. The results were subjectively positive, including comments like that it felt like a virtual museum. The results from the user testing showed several criticisms as well as several positive observations. One of the main criticisms were when the lighting behind the objects obfuscated the text boxes. So the text boxes were attached to the lighting that actually presents itself in the environment when the object spawns. And when the lighting isn't facing the correct way as the text boxes come up with a shadow over the writing. Additionally, it wasn't clear to the user that the map and the location of Fort Willis on the map was not part of the application. Additionally, the last complaint that we received was the resizing is attached to the object rather than being individually attached to the text boxes. The way we were able to implement these changes was that we did our best to attach the lighting to the center of the environment itself so that the objects would appear and the text boxes in front of the lighting so that on initial spawn the lighting would appear. Additionally, we rearranged the flow of the application to make sure that the map was introduced in the page that was also introducing the augmented reality of the application itself. General observations from our previous user testings: the users still frequently select the scroll wheel, even with the implementation of the touch here in the middle of the screen. Button feedback was less apparent when selecting text boxes, and the lag time for the fort is still over the level that the user would be satisfied to use. We were also able to fully complete our Projects Day boards with the approval of both advisors from the EECS and the History Department. We did this by implementing work that the CS team has done, the systems engineering team developed the storyboard, and then we were able to include all of the testing that we've done within the application itself, as well as talk about the highlights that were challenges and successes throughout the project's lifespan. We've also created a packet for judging for Projects Day that includes the finalized testing results from all the tests that we've done this semester that allows for us to conclude that we've met our constraints in an appropriate manner for each subsystem. We've also implemented a README page within our GitHub in order to provide further instructions for future groups on how to get this application running in a development environment as well as a testing environment.
During of this sprint, we were able to incorporate the final product of the fort and battery into the application. As you can see, the fort now features wooden walls on each side which held the sod in place. Additionally, the two cannons in the fort are firing in barbette, meaning that they fire over the wall of the fort. The fort also featured two embrasures, where an opening was cut through the parapet for the cannons to fire through. Due to resource constraints, the two 3-pound cannons were positioned to fire in barbette over the eastern wall rather than through the embrasures, as that was the side which needed more reinforcements. Another important part of this sprint was incorporating all of the narratives into the application. We worked within the constraints of having an introduction and 3 main topics for each graphic. After this, I decided which portions of each graphic should be highlighted. In the fort, I decided to highlight the bomb-proof. This is a great use of the highlight feature because we are able to clearly draw the user's attention to an important feature of the fort. At the end of the sprint, I went through the text and proofread it to ensure that everything fit and was labeled properly. We also made a video that highlights the work we have done on the application throughout the year. The video features in-app videos showing all of the graphics, highlighting, functions, and text boxes. All of this was done to ensure that we have the best possible product come Projects Day.
So one of the main things that I worked on this sprint was implementing the scroll wheel to be a horizontal scroll wheel with pictures representing the objects rather than just the titles that we had in the last version of the app. This makes it a lot easier for users to actually see what they'll be selecting and give them a preview of the object that they'll be able to explore, hopefully enticing them to explore more objects. Additionally, I worked on making the highlighting feature scalable for all of the objects, allowing us to highlight multiple objects at the same time as shown by the cannons, as well as make it easy to add highlightable features for all of the objects moving forward into the future.
For the sprint, I worked on adding the layered learning portion of the app, and that required addition of text boxes, which will help the user learn about the object itself. So here, this is Xcode, and this is where I've added the text boxes. So I'm using SK, which is a sprite kit, and physically typing in the text boxes that I'll be using. So every object has 3 to 4 text boxes associated with them, and all these text boxes are associated with a button that's connected, and a lot of that's done in like a data structure pattern that's in here.
Something else I worked primarily on during this sprint was making sure that we were using GitHub in a way that we could easily combine and utilize its features in order to get our code together in a better and more manageable way. So we actually implemented separate branches for both Dan and I, and then I took the time to merge them together and make sure we didn't have any merge conflicts and eventually pushing it up. Merging the 2 branches together and ensuring that our development branch would eventually be able to push into our master branch, which was feedback that we took from the code review that we did with Colonel Chouar.
2 graphics from Sprint 4 and Sprint 5, we added in lighting through using Xcode. And the differences between these 2 graphics, as you can see, is you could see shadows and the graphic to the left, and then there's no shadow on the right. So it just makes, it's the same graphic, so it just makes it look much better. With the additional lighting, obviously it comes with a little slightly more memory use and also slightly bigger file.
Moving forward into the future, we have Projects Day to look forward to, as well as finally getting our finished version of 3.0 uploaded onto the App Store and letting our parents know that they can download it on their iPads back home. The other things that we have looking forward into the future are making sure that the people that taking over our project next year have a good understanding of the code base, and that we have left them fully prepared with all of our AAR comments from this year, as well as good commented code that they will be able to read easily and build upon.